Here's everything you need to know about permissions and settings in ConnectHub. Timestamps below this video to jump to a section. Let's begin with the Site Settings page. The district name will be used at the top of pages throughout ConnectHub and at the top of your reports. Set your engagement goal percentage for your team to be used in the interactions report. You'll see it used under the building support charts. Next are your school year dates. This range acts as a filter throughout the platform, ensuring your reports and data views are up to date. Updating this range only affects the default filter. No data is deleted or archived. Next is the team management section. Our managing users video has an in-depth explanation on how teams work. In short, this feature allows you to separate your coach users into different teams to customize ConnectHub features and settings to specific groups of coaches. If you choose to use this feature, there's one setting to customize when editing each team, allowing team members to see other teams' interactions. Here's an example to help you understand this setting. We have EdTech, literacy, and math coaches in our district. Each one of our schools has 2 of each coach. 2 EdTech coaches, 2 literacy, and 2 math coaches. In the interaction settings, you can set up ConnectHub so coaches can view each other's interactions when they share the same educators. But this setting allows you to customize if coaches can view each other's interactions between different teams. If I enable this, my EdTech coaches will be able to see interactions from other teams. If I disable this interaction, they will not be able to see other teams' interactions. So in short, your decision that you're going to make here is whether or not you want your coaches to be siloed or if you want them to all work together when they can see the same educators in their assigned buildings. Next, we have building management. You can create and manage your buildings here. If you have a large list of buildings to create, you can import via CSV in this section, or you can manually create each building. Within each building, there's a list of more actions. Editing the building allows you to update the name of the building. Export educators to CSV will download a spreadsheet of the educators in the building to your computer. You can also bulk export all the educators from your database to CSV with one button by scrolling down to bulk actions and choosing export all educators to CSV. Last, you can deactivate and delete buildings as well. Deactivating makes the building inactive moving forward, including all the educators who are currently in the building. Deleting a building will delete the building and all educators tied to the building. Delete should be used with extreme caution. If you want to move all the educators in a building out of it before deactivating or deleting the building, scroll down to bulk actions, choose bulk update building history dates, and search for the building to apply an end date to all the educators in the building. This will remove all the educators from the building on the date and time that you add here. We'll talk more about this feature in just a moment, so proceed with caution using the bulk update features until you learn more. Below buildings are clusters. Clusters allow you to group buildings together to make it easier to filter in reports by a group of buildings. Some examples of clusters include elementary, middle, and high schools, regions of the city, and feeder schools. When you create a cluster, if you want another user to be able to use it in reports, go to Settings, Users, and edit the user's profile to give them access to the cluster filter. Below clusters are departments. You can manage and rename your departments here. A quick note though, departments are created when you import a CSV, and our platform recognizes new departments in that process. But you also have the option to create and manage them here. Last, we have our bulk actions. Once a new educator is added to the database, the date that they were added is important. If we look at this educator's building history, they were added to the high school on July 13th, 2024. If I try to add an interaction for this educator before their first date and click create interaction, I'm going to get an error because this educator does not belong to a building. Now, these dates can be managed from the educator's profile, and by default, platform admin are the only ones who can edit these dates. They can click edit, change the start date to Monday, and click Save. The platform admin can give access to coach users to manage these dates by going to Settings, users and turning on this setting. Be cautious with giving coaches access to this feature because interactions can be lost in the process of changing these dates. If an educator has a start date as July 1st and users begin adding interactions throughout the month of July, but a coach changes their start date to August and saves it, all the interactions that were entered in July will be lost in the data reports. Now, these dates can be changed from the educator profile, but connecthub has a bulk update feature that platform admin can use to update an entire building at once. Go to Settings, Site, and scroll down to Bulk Actions and choose Bulk Update Building History Dates. Begin by searching for a building. Then you'll have two options: update dates per educator or mass update dates. The first option will allow you to update each educator row by row instead of having to go to each of their profiles. This is useful if each educator has a different start date. You will need to save each page's updates before moving on to the next page. If you need to bulk update a whole school to the same date, choose Mass Update Dates, and here you can change their start date. A quick note, when you add an end date to the educator, it will end their time at that building on that date. In other words, it will make them inactive for that building and possibly in your whole system if that's the only building that they belong to. Coaches will not be able to add interactions to that educator at that school, and any interactions that are already entered after that date will no longer be tied to that building. Moving on to our user settings page, the top section allows you to invite users and manage what buildings they can see. To learn more about inviting and managing your team, go to Support and Managing Users to watch the in-depth video or check out our guides. Below the users list, you can customize user settings. First, we have restrict coaches to only see other coaches with common buildings. This setting is specific to coaches tagging each other in team meeting interactions. If you leave this disabled, users can view and tag other coach users in interactions and view their profiles in the coach database. The coach profile shows their interactions with other coaches only. If you enable this setting, coach users will only be able to see the coaches they share a building with. Leaving it disabled will allow coaches to see all other coaches in the district. To the right, we have Managing Educator Database. The first setting allows coach users to manually add an educator on the go. This allows them to go into the educator database, click Manage, and fill out this form to create a new educator. This can be a useful feature for coaches to add a new educator when a long-term sub comes in to fill in for a teacher on maternity leave. Below that setting, we have coaches can upload educators using the CSV Import Manager. On this same page is the CSV Import tool. This setting will enable or disable this feature from coach users. We generally recommend to leave the first setting enabled and disable the CSV import. And the last setting allows coaches to adjust an educator's building association history. That feature is available under the educator profile, Manage Educator, and Building History. Be cautious enabling this setting as the building history dates impact when an educator is tied to a specific building. In this example educator, Mark Spector, he was at Settlers Elementary from July 1st, 2022 until December 30th, 2022. Then he moved to the high school from December 31st, 2022 until the current date. If a coach were to accidentally delete Settlers Elementary from this educator's building history, any interactions entered between those dates will no longer be associated with any building. This action can be undone by simply adding the building back to the building history, but you'll only want to consider enabling this if coaches have been thoroughly trained on this tool. To see our in-depth video on how this tool works, go to Support and Educator Profile to watch the video. Last on the user settings page are the principal accounts. Principal accounts are complementary to all connecthub users. In other words, you don't need to pay for a license for these account types. Principals are restricted to only see reports. Here I'm logged in as a principal who's been assigned to Settlers Elementary. As you can see in the left navigation menu, they cannot access the educator database to go look at interactions. They also can't go to the coaching dashboard or My Activity. The purpose of principal accounts is to give access to the data around coaching without compromising the coach-teacher relationship. So let's walk through the settings available for principal accounts. First, you can choose to give them access to the interactions report. This report does not include any teacher names, and there's no way to filter by a specific teacher in this report. Most districts leave this setting turned on. The teacher level report cannot be accessed by principal accounts. Next, we have the coaching cycles report. First, you can turn on or disable access to the report altogether. If you turn on access to this report, all of these settings will show. First is whether or not principals can view teacher level information throughout the coaching cycles report. This includes any tables or charts that mention specific teacher names. Here are some examples. Next is whether or not principals can view educator growth ratings. Here are a few examples within the report. And last, you can customize if principals can view the top and lowest participating school scorecards in their reports. This is that section in the report. Now let's move on to our interaction settings. First, we have our interaction types. After creating an interaction, you can customize the color associated with each one that's used in the interactions form and in reports. We have some custom colors available here, but you can click this bar to choose a custom color from the color wheel or enter a color code. By default, an interaction type is accessible by your whole team, but you can restrict it to a specific team by editing it and choosing one or more teams here. To learn more about teams in ConnectHub, go to support and choose managing users to watch our in-depth video. Deactivating an interaction type will make it inaccessible moving forward. After deactivating an interaction type, any interactions entered using it will still remain in the database and accessible in the reports. Next, we have our tag manager. You can manage existing tags by going to the edit icon next to it, or create a new tag by clicking New Tag. As you can see, all of my tags are organized into categories. I have district initiatives, ed tech, and instructional practices. When creating a new tag, you can either place it under an existing category or choose no category top level. By choosing no category, it will be a new category like EdTech, District Initiatives, and Instructional Practices. If you want to put this tag, in our example here, an EdTech tool, within an existing category like EdTech, I'll simply select it from the menu and choose Save. But if I'm trying to make a new category, I'll simply choose No Category Top Level. When you create a new category, you can restrict it to a team. So looking at our EdTech category, I can restrict this to my EdTech coaches. Leaving this field blank makes the category available to all ConnectHub users. You can also delete and deactivate the category or tag from here. Deactivating makes the tag or category inaccessible moving forward, but retains the data in the database and reports. Deleting will delete the tag or category from all existing interactions and interactions moving forward. We highly recommend proceeding with caution before deleting a tag, as our support team cannot undo that action. If you have an existing tag that you need to move to another category, simply hover over the 6 dots, click and drag to move it to a new category. You can also edit the tag and adjust the category here. Below your tag manager, you can customize settings for your team for tags. By default, platform admin are the only users who can manage the tags, but we have 2 more options to release management to your team. You can create a tag approval setting where coaches can go to interaction settings to request a tag. Once they create the tag, platform admin users will get an email with a link to approve or deny. Until then, the tag is marked as pending to the coach. Once the platform admin chooses to approve or deny, the coach will get an email from ConnectHub letting them know their tag has been approved or denied. The second option should only be selected with extreme caution, allowing coaches to deactivate and manage tags for the whole team. Coaches should understand that tags are not unique to the user, and deactivating or editing the tag will impact all users on their team. It's also important for coaches to understand if they rename a tag, in this case from first year teaching cohort to second year teaching cohort, that will change the name of the tag on all existing interactions that have been entered and new interactions moving forward. Now let's scroll back up to the interaction templates. Templates are useful to pre-fill the notes section of an interaction to save time entering data. Once created, you can go to templates in the interaction form and choose the template to pre-fill the notes section and add notes as needed before I save. To create a template, go to Settings and Interaction, and scroll down to Interaction Templates. I'm going to create a new template for our team's observation form. I'm going to give it a name and add the interaction form here. These templates can also be restricted to specific teams of connecthub users. To learn more about teams, go to Support and scroll down to Manage Users to watch the in-depth video. When you're done, click Save, and now the observation template will be available in your interactions form by coming to Template and clicking Observation. Creating and managing templates is restricted to platform admin users only, but they can give control to teams by scrolling down to Interaction Templates and enabling this setting. This should be done with caution since templates are not user specific. Deleting or editing a template will impact all of the users on your district's connecthub team. Below interaction templates are the recurring interactions. You can see all of your schedules in one place. And last, let's move down to our interactions and report visibility settings. Customize if coaches can view all other coaches' interactions in the buildings they share. You can also allow coaches to mark an interaction as private, but be cautious with this setting because when an interaction is set to private, only the coach will see the data for it. Platform admin and principals will not be able to see the data in reports. Next, platform admin can customize the interaction sharing features in the interactions form. Allowing coaches to share interactions with attendees makes this feature in the interactions form visible. If you disable it, users will not be able to share interactions via email with teachers. Next, you can customize if the tags entered on the form are shared with the teacher in the email. Most teams keep this setting disabled, but it is available if it fits your needs. Now let's move on to file settings. Making uploaded files publicly accessible via a unique link makes it so that 1, your files can be shared with the teacher, meaning they don't need to be a connecthub user to see the file. And 2, makes a link to the file so that it can be accessed by anyone who has the link. When you enable this setting, a new setting will appear under the interaction sharing section, allowing you to add files to the email shared with the teacher. This is a very useful setting to have enabled, but it should be done with caution if coaches are planning on uploading sensitive information as files. Next, you can allow coaches to see other coaches' files. This is a useful setting that allows connecthub users to search for other files imported into the connecthub team. Note, this is specific to your district's connecthub team. Last are the calendar options. Showing the Google or Outlook calendars will remove or show these buttons in the interaction form. Most districts only need access to one of these, so choose the one that works best for your team. If you don't plan to use this feature, you can disable both. And last is enabling calendar sync for all connecthub users. Most districts keep this enabled, but if your team doesn't plan to use the feature, you can disable it. Next, we have our cycle settings. To manage your team's coaching cycle focus categories, ratings, and rubrics, go to Settings and Cycles. Here you can create a new goal category, modify existing ones, customize your rating scale, and customize team visibility settings when coaches share the same group of educators. To add a rubric, click Edit next to the goal focus category. And here you can add each rubric option. Goal focus categories can also be restricted to specific teams of coaches. So if you've set up teams under Settings and Site, you can restrict them here. If your team plans to use the coaching cycles feature but does not want to utilize the rating scale, you can make the beginning and end rating have just one option in the scale. You can name it not applicable or any other option. If you're planning on using the rubrics feature, we have a Google Doc linked in the support section for coaching cycles with example rubrics for common goal categories. Last, we have our account settings. This section is going to be unique to your own user account. First, you can manage your profile and preview your chip that will be used throughout the platform. If your email address changes, you can update that here. Next, you can customize your position title, which will be visible in your coach profile, and update your time zone. If your account is managed by your district, you can see who your platform admin are here. These will be your points of contact if you have any questions regarding the structure and settings throughout connecthub. Last, you can update your password, manage connected accounts for calendar tools, contact support team, and view your imports.